What's up guys, Drew from DEO Productions here. I'm back with another video. This one is pertaining to bowling. And that is because the video that you can check out right up there ended up getting a ton of love from you guys, which I really appreciate. And I just wanted to make sure that y'all got enough about bowling. It's one of the sports that I participate in, I absolutely love, and I've learned a lot about, and I want to make sure the knowledge I have, I can pass to you, so you can pass to other people, including your kids, some of the younger people, to get them in the sport of bowling. But before we go ahead and continue, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, go ahead and comment, watch some other videos, and check out my channel. All right, let's get into it. All right, guys, so this is a bowling ball. These are cleaners for your bowling ball. As you might have guessed, we're going to talk about bowling ball maintenance. Making sure that your bowling ball is as clean and as consistent as possible is one of the keys to doing well in bowling. A lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people don't have the understanding of how to keep their bowling ball clean and don't really know that the things that you do to your bowling ball, the things that are on and in your bowling ball, are going to really affect the way you bowl and the way that the ball performs. It can actually really shorten the longevity of the bowling ball in a lot of ways. So we're going to talk about that. So in the previous video, we talked about cover stocks and the outer rim that is on this ball. This particular ball is a Roto-Grip Idol Pearl. It is a pearl bowling ball, or a certain amount of pearl to a certain amount of solid in it. And it's going to have a shiny finish. And this is one of my favorite bowling balls. And it has been so consistent in the way it does what it does in striking and making sure that when it hits the spot, it takes off. And the reason that it does that is because I make sure that I keep it in tip-top shape by a few things. So one of the first things that you can do is something that a lot of people don't even understand and don't realize that they're doing. And it's something that you don't even need to buy any of this. And that's just take care of your stuff, right? This is a bowling ball. It has pores. A lot of people don't understand that. This bowling ball actually does, under the microscope, it has pores, right? It soaks oil. Urethanes don't. Urethanes don't soak oil, but reactive bowling balls of today, they soak oil and they soak it pretty fast. So you want to make sure that you keep the cover stock clean at all times. And if that just entails taking a standard microfiber cloth, or your shirt even, if you don't want to get it dirty, and after every shot, just wiping off where your track area is. Now, your track area is the ring of lines that gets created each time you throw the ball down the lane. It's the surface area that touches the oil. And you'll see as you shoot the ball, there'll be a consistent ring around the ball of oil. It'll create a track flare. It'll be 4, 5, 6 lines, however many lines of flare there is. And you're going to want to make sure that you keep those off the ball. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. But some other things that you can do is just don't be silly with your bowling ball. You want to avoid extremes. And what I mean by that is don't have it in extreme heat and don't have it in extreme cold. I've seen a lot of cases where bowling balls will actually crack because it's kept too long in an extreme. Whether that's in the back of Jim Bob's truck when it's 104 degrees outside and it gets to 140 inside the cab, or it's out in the back of your truck when it's -20. This is Michigan. We get the extremes. We get the -20 and we get the 104. So I've seen a lot of people crack their bowling balls. This has pores in the bowling ball, as I discussed. If you keep it in extremes for too long, the ball will expand and contract. Obviously, when it goes from one extreme to another, it's going to expand and contract rapidly and make the cover stock brittle. You don't want to do that. The reason bowling balls crack is because of, well, poor maintenance, extremes, heat or cold, and just negligence. Dropping it when it doesn't need to be dropped, or throwing it somewhere, or slamming it down, whatever. That just makes the over cover stock weak, and you just don't want to do that. So avoid extremes. Avoid throwing it down the lane really hard into the pit. A lot of people will do that, especially with their spare shots. That's why they make spare balls, right? They make the $70 plastic balls. Use those if you really want to throw it 100 miles down at the pin, the corner pin that keeps nagging at you. Don't use your reactive ball and throw it really hard in the pit. There's hundreds of moving parts back there, and at any time something could scratch your ball, could ding it, could even crack it. I've seen people throw bowling balls and it cracks right in half as it gets to the back. So just be smart with your bowling ball. That's another one to do. And then of course the third is going to be the maintenance itself. You want to make sure that you have some kind of cleaner with you. Tons of different cleaners on the market. This one is that purple stuff from a company called Creating a Difference. This one is Hammer Tough Scrub Ball Cleaner. It's more of a gel than an actual liquid. This is So Fresh, So Clean, again by Creating the Difference. It's a bowling ball life extender. And this is, well, it's a compound or a scuff, and we'll talk more about these two particular items in a moment and why these are going to be a little different than bowling ball maintenance. So you're going to want to make sure that in between each shot, you wipe your ball down, whether it's with a dry towel or whether it's with an Anytime approved spray. It'll say right on the bottom, USB-C approved anytime, and that's when you make sure you don't, get banned for not using USB-C rules. You want to make sure that it's approved anytime cleaner such as this. And what I like to do is I like to keep my rag nice and wet, something like this. And in between shots, I'll just wipe where the track flare is. Now, if you don't, like we discussed, your track flare is the point of the ball that touches the lane. And you'll see it. I mean, it's very obvious. When the ball comes back, you'll have wet spots on the ball. Just make sure you wipe those wet spots down, right? That's going to do a lot of things, right? It's going to make the consistent down the lane motion that you're looking for. It's going to make sure that as it reaches the break point, it doesn't end up hitting oil on oil on the ball versus oil on the lane, and sliding a little further down the lane. Just that little bit, you may not notice it, couple inches here or there, and you're going and you're leaving corner pins, or you're leaving an 8-pin, or you're leaving something not very desirable. It's going to hit too flat, it's going to deflect, it's just going to skid past the break point. You want to make sure that you set yourself up for the best possible success by making sure you wipe down in between each shot. Another thing that you're going to want to do is make sure you wipe it down before you put it in your bag. Too many people will take their bowling ball and they will leave the oil on the ball, put it in their bag, and then they'll just pull it out, keep shooting it, not even think about it. Maybe they'll wipe it down every now and then, but it's an afterthought, right? If that oil soaks into that cover stock, there's no amount of that purple stuff, So Fresh, So Clean, or Hammer Tough Scrub Cleaner, that's going to get that out. Now you have to bake it. Now you have to take it to the pro shop and spend $20 or more doing that and doing it the right way. And it's not going to be sitting on the cover stock. If you get it before it gets there, then it's much less likely to impact performance. So what impacts on performance does oil in the cover stock have? Well, it's going to drastically reduce your score. Sorry to say. And the reason it does that is for a couple of reasons. First of all, the ball is going to be soaked with oil, and the bowling ball is not going to be able to absorb new oil. So it's going to just kind of skid down the lane and not break nearly as much. A lot of people don't understand that when their ball isn't breaking the way they want it to or performing the way they want it to, it can honestly be fixed 9 times out of 10 with a resurface, which we can discuss in another video, or by a bake. And what they mean by bake is taking it to a pro shop, putting it in a bowling ball oven, or doing it yourself at home to extract the oil out of the core of the ball and wipe it off and make sure it has a nice consistent clean. I have seen bowling balls such as this become completely dead. You throw it over 4th arrow, you get it out to 5th board, it does nothing. It hits 7, it hits the 10, right? It doesn't do anything. It doesn't come back, it doesn't snap, it loses all of its gusto, and everybody's like, oh, that ball's dead, I'm gonna have to go buy another one. No. Oftentimes just being able to resurface or do a bake job on the bowling ball is going to drastically affect that bowling ball performance. There's many videos, especially ones from a company called Creating the Difference. They have done tons of studies on this, making sure you just clean the bowling ball, keep it clean between shots, keep it clean after practice, and bake the bowling ball every so often. It's going to drastically make a difference. And if the ball is consistently reacting, you're going to have consistent score. You can rely on it getting down to that break point and coming back and smashing through the pins. A lot of people also misunderstand that just because the ball hits the pocket that it's not striking, it's just bad luck. A lot of times the ball has to finish through the pocket, and that could be hand position, it could be axis tilt, it could be a lot of different things. It could be the way the lane's playing, you could hit a dry spot, you could be playing in someone's urethane line, sure. But you want to make sure that you take all the necessary precautions to prevent that, the cover stock from being a factor, right? And if you keep all the oil off the ball to start, it won't soak. You make sure that that's not a non-factor. And it's going to do a lot of things too, right? It's going to prevent the ball from having too much oil in it, which could lead to cracking and just lead to the ball being, well, thrown out. You don't want to waste $150, $200 if you don't need to. So in addition to doing that, making sure this, it's clean between shots, making sure it's cleaned after each practice, each game, each league, each everything, just keep it clean. And baking, there's also resurfacing that can be done. These are sanding pads. These are True Cut pads by a company called Creating the Difference. There's tons out there, Abralon, Sierra, NeoGrit, tons of different pads. But essentially, it's meant to resurface the ball. And let's say this is a 500. I'm going to rub it on there aggressively. It's just like sanding. You're going to rub it out. You're going to go over the entire surface of the ball. And then maybe you do a little step sanding. You go to the next grit, next grit, next grit. And eventually you put a little polish on this, and it gets it back to more of a consistent finish. And in doing this, it's going to remove a lot of fine scratches. What I like to do is actually every now and then I will actually do a resurface, and that's usually done at least twice a league season. Some people like to do it religiously every month or every so many games or whatever. They'll go down to the base grip, then they'll bake it, which opens up the pores and pulls the oil out of the ball, and then they'll put it back to the factory finish or whatever it was. And it just keeps a nice, consistent, constant reaction down the lane. You want to do everything you can to extend the longevity of this ball and give yourself the best chance for success. Now let's talk about these grits for a second, because this kind of goes hand in hand with these. We'll toss these off to the side for just a second, and we'll talk about these grits. These aren't cleaners. These are more polishes or scuffs. This is actually reactive stuff by Storm, and it's really meant to put a scuff on the ball. It is a liquid, well, it's more of a gel, but you put it on the bowling ball, and it actually has little particles in it that are meant to kind of put sanding lines in the ball without actually putting sanding lines in the ball. And it's meant to dull the surface of the ball where maybe a little lane shine got built up. And it's good for more dull balls, not good for polish, or good for polished balls or shiny balls like this, but it is something that is on the market, so you could use these. There's also this compound. This is more polished than it is anything. It is a compound, so it does have a little bit of a grit inside of it, and it's meant to put a more factory finish on the ball. So example, if I were to hit this with a 1000 pad and put a rough surface on the ball and then take this and put it over it, it would put it back to a shiny finish, but the base finish would be something lower. So these are meant for a whole other video, really, but to resurface the bowling ball, and this is also can be used to change the surface of the bowling ball when you're in tournament shots and you have a much heavier volume than you anticipated. You can quickly, before practice starts, change the surface of the ball to give yourself the best chance for success. This is a polishing pad. This is meant for polish. It's meant for the buffing once you get that haze on the ball, just like you would any car. This is meant to wipe it off. And this is a microfiber pad. I have several of them. I have an entire bag I bought for $10. You don't really want to use terry cloths on this. You don't want to use some stuff because it doesn't really soak the oil as well. This, I've noticed, gives a nice even distribution of whatever liquid I put on it, and it makes sure that the dirt is on this as opposed to just smearing it around the ball. There are leather pads, such as example from Storm and Rotogrip, Ebonite. They've all had it. They're more of a black leather pad. It does a really good job of just getting the oil off quickly, but I actually like to, every couple shots, put a little spray on my towel and wipe it off before shots. That makes sure that I have a nice tacky finish and I have an even, consistent reaction through the game. So that really is it. You want to make sure that you're not goofy. You make sure you clean your shot between shots, after practice, after games, after league, and you want to make sure you bake it. Now, we could talk about baking in another video, and there's lots of different methods to it, from putting it in your sink at home to taking it to a pro shop. And by baking, I don't mean put it in an oven at 350 degrees. That's not what you want to do. Let me just tell you the things you don't want to do. Don't put it in direct sunlight and leave it in one spot. Rotate it and make sure you wipe the ball if you're going to do that. Don't put it in the oven, and well, some people do, but don't put it in the dishwasher because it can get too hot. And some of the cleaners and things that dishwashers can leave over actually can put a haze on the ball, and that's really hard to get off and obviously affects performance. So really, guys, that's about it. I just wanted to create a quick video to you about keeping your ball consistently clean using a ton of different products out there on the market. I like that purple stuff. Tamra Scrub Cleaner is a little better for ball marks and stuff from the pit. These are compounds. This is a bowling ball life extender. You put this on after a game. It is USB-C approved before and after. So you put it on, it soaks in the ball and actually preserves the cover stock. Powerhouse has a ton of different good products, from gels to sprays to wipes. They actually have what's called a Powerhouse wipe, which is actually just a basic wipe, and it does a really good job. And I'll put a link down below of getting scuff marks off the ball. You'll constantly see scuff marks on bowling balls, and it's really difficult with just spraying a cleaner to get it off. You need something a little more heavy duty. Those wipes will do the job. So how do you know that your bowling ball is clean? Well, you're going to have a nice tacky feel to it. That is one thing. You want to make sure that you have a nice tacky feel. You don't want to be grabbing at nothing and you feel a nice film on your hands. That means it's dirty. If you rub your hand over it and there's just tons of grit and dirt on it, make sure you just wipe it off. If you see a bunch of different spots, little rubber marks and things like that, just put a little elbow grease into it, get them off. Those can drastically actually perform or change the performance of the bowling ball. Sometimes it could actually go down and hook a little too soon because it hit a rubber spot, or not hook at all because of that. So you want to make sure the bowling ball is as clean as possible on the outside to get you the best results. Another thing, one final thing that you'll notice is if I spray this on the bowling ball and I wipe it off, quickly it's dry. Very quickly it evaporates. And that is because the pores are clean, they are free of gunk and oil, and they can absorb that cleaner and dry very quickly. If you put it on and you wipe it on and it sits there and it's wet forever, that's a very good sign that you have a very dirty ball. I'll actually bring this up real quick and show you so that you can see what I am talking about. If I put a little spray on this bowling ball and I wipe it off, very quickly you'll see it evaporates. See how it evaporates really quickly? If there's a lot of spots on that ball that maintain really a lot of wetness, that's not a good sign, and it usually means that you're going to have problems. Obviously, nice good general tack to it is always a good sign and means that you're probably doing well. So you want to make sure that you keep everything off the ball, give yourself the best chance for success in between shots after cleaning, and make sure that you have plenty of this in your bag so you can use it at any time during a tournament, league, and score as high as you can. Thank you very much for watching. This has been another video from DEO Productions. I really hope to make another couple videos here, one specifically relating to sanding and then another relating to polish as well. Let me know what videos you guys want to see in the comments below, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much. Have a good one.